Well, it is, but I like your prime minister. He's slightly more liberal than I am, as you've probably heard. But he's a good man. He got a trade deal done. And, they've been working on this deal for 12 years. He got it done. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for the UK. So, no, I'll be seeing him tomorrow, I guess, tomorrow evening. And this is our wonderful ambassador, as you know. He's doing a good job. He's a very, very successful man. He'll be doing a good job.
The Royal and Ancient says you're going to have to improve infrastructure at Turnberry to bring the Open back. Is that something you're going to
I don't know. The best course anywhere in the world is Turnberry. The players all want to be at Turnberry. Everybody wants to be at Turnberry, so we'll see how that works out.
The infrastructure needs to be
I think the infrastructure in the course is good. In fact, the Royal and Ancient, I don't know if you're aware of this, they spent a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or probably into the millions of dollars, and they've laid all the wire for television and for electricity under the holes of Turnberry, so that when the Open gets there, they have it all done. They paid for that.
But we're talking about roads and railway stations.
Well, I don't know. See, I don't know what you can do. All I can tell you is that it would be the best place anywhere in your country to have. There's no place like it. There's no place like Turnberry. It's probably the best course in the world. And I would say Aberdeen is right up there also. Aberdeen's great. And while we're here, I'll be with my son, and he's going to cut a ribbon for the second course at Aberdeen, which is just about equal to the first. I mean, it's going to be a battle. It's, as you know, they're very highly rated. And the second course is great. Sean Connery helped get me the permits. If it weren't for Sean Connery, we wouldn't have those great courses. No, I was never briefed. No.
Did you ask House?
What are you hoping Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell? What are you hoping that they get out of that?
I really have really nothing to say about it. She is being talked to by a very smart man, by a very good man, Todd Blanche. And I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got. You're making a very big thing over something that's not a big thing. You should be talking about, if you're going to talk about that, talk about Clinton, talk about the former president of Harvard, talk about all of his friends, talk about the hedge fund guys that were with him all the time. Don't talk about Trump. What you should be talking about is the fact that we have the greatest 6 months in the history of a presidency, according to a lot of people. And we had an amazing 6 months. And this is sort of an example of it. Now we're meeting with the European Union, we're also meeting with, as you know, the head of UK, Prime Minister, and I look forward to that. But we're meeting, in terms of a deal, we're meeting with the European Union, and that would be actually the biggest deal of them all if we make it.
Did you ask House Republican leaders to not vote on the resolution about
No, I was never involved in that. I'm focused on making deals. I'm not focused on conspiracy theories that you are. I mean, I watch you people. It's so sad. You ought to talk about the success of our country instead of this nonsense that you talk about over and over again.
You've done an amazing job on illegal migration in America.
I have.
People here are very worried about the situation. Record numbers.
Well, I say two things to Europe. Stop the windmills. You're ruining your countries. I really mean it. It's so sad. You fly over and you see these windmills all over the place, ruining your beautiful fields and valleys and killing your birds, and if they're stuck in the ocean, ruining your oceans. Stop the windmills. And there's a couple of things I could say, but on immigration, you better get your act together. You're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together. And we, as you know, last month we had nobody entering our country. Nobody. Shut it down. And we took out a lot of bad people that got there with Biden. Biden was a total stiff. And what he allowed to happen, but you're allowing it to happen to your countries. And you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe, many countries in Europe. Some people, some leaders have not let it happen. And they're not getting the proper credit they should. I could name them to you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass the other ones. But stop. This immigration is killing Europe. And the other thing, stop the windmills, killing the beauty of your countries. Thank you very much, everybody.
Last flip on the card.
I don't think he understands the distance.
Situation in Gaza, we hear very dire warnings about.
I think it's terrible what happened with Hamas. I think it's terrible what happened with Hamas. They tapped everybody along, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what response Israel has to that. But it's getting to be that time.
Are you concerned about the said there's a 50-50 chance of a deal? What is left to work out? What are the final sticking points?
I don't know. With the European Union, I think we have a good 50-50 chance. That's a lot.
What are the sticking points that you
Well, I
still
don't want
work
to tell
out?
you what the sticking points are, but the sticking points are having to do with maybe 20 different things. You don't want to listen to all of them. Yes.
What advice are you going to have for our Prime Minister about free speech? It's very important to people here.
Well, it is, but I like your Prime Minister. He's slightly more liberal than I am, as you've probably heard, but he's a good man. He got a trade deal done. And, you know, they've been working on this deal for 12 years. He got it done. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for the UK. So, no, I'll be seeing him tomorrow, I guess, tomorrow evening. And this is our wonderful ambassador, as you know. He's doing a good job. He's a very, very successful man. He'll be doing a good job.
The Royal and Ancient says you're going to have to improve infrastructure at Turnberry to bring the Open back. Is that something you're going to
I don't know. The best course anywhere in the world is Turnberry. The players all want to be at Turnberry. Everybody wants to be at Turnberry, so we'll see how that works out.
The infrastructure needs to be improved.
I think the infrastructure in the course is good. In fact, the Royal and Ancient, I don't know if you're aware of this, they spent a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or probably into the millions of dollars, and they've laid all the wire for television and for electricity under the holes of Turnberry, so that when the Open gets there, they have it all done. They paid for that.
But we're talking about roads and railway stations.
I don't know. See, I don't know what you can do. All I can tell you is that it would be the best place anywhere in your country to have. There's no place like it. There's no place like Turnberry. It's the best, probably the best course in the world. And I would say Aberdeen is right up there also. Aberdeen's great. And while we're here, I'll be with my son, and he's going to cut a ribbon for the second course at Aberdeen, which is just about equal to the first. I mean, it's going to be a battle. It's, as you know, they're very highly rated. And the second course is great. Sean Connery helped get me the permits. If it weren't for Sean Connery, we wouldn't have those great courses. No, I was never briefed. No.
Did you ask how?
What are you hoping Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell? What are you hoping that they get out of that?
I really have really nothing to say about it. She is being talked to by a very smart man, by a very good man, Todd Blanche. And I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got. You're making a very big thing over.
Because she's pretty nice and bubbly, doesn't really wade into any dangerous territory. But the woman who published this, Amanda Marcotte, positively hates Brett Cooper in a way that I've never seen before.
All right, other news now. An appellate lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and accomplice, spoke out about her meeting with the DOJ today. Let's take a listen.
We want to thank the Deputy Attorney General for being so professional with all of us and for meeting with us. He took a full day and asked a lot of questions, and Ms. Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped, she never invoked a privilege, she never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. And that's all the comment we're going to have today about the meeting. We don't want to comment about the substance of the meeting for obvious reasons.
All right, CBS White House reporter Aaron Navarro joining us live now. You know, this visit coming amid a lot of criticism over the Trump administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. How is the White House responding to all of this today?
Yeah, you could kind of see this move by the number 2 at the Department of Justice as a way to kind of alleviate some of the pressure that they've gotten, not only from Democrats, but from some of the, quote, more MAGA parts of Trump's base, who had been critical of this administration since the DOJ put out a memo that essentially said that they found that Jeffrey Epstein did not have some sort of blackmail list and that he had committed suicide. From what we saw today was Todd Blanche, who announced earlier this week that he'd be meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. We also know that Maxwell had been subpoenaed by the House for a deposition, waiting to see when that will take place. All this coming as the Trump administration, the president himself, is looking to kind of get past this story. One kind of wrinkle in all of that, though, is some reporting from the Wall Street Journal yesterday saying that Trump was told by his Department of Justice in May that his name had appeared in the Epstein files. Important to note that just because your name is in there does not signal any full-out wrongdoing. And we also know that Epstein and Trump were kind of running in the same New York City social circles in the 1990s. But again, is another thing that ties Trump to this story that the White House is looking to get past.
And Aaron, on top of the president's visit to the Federal Reserve, we understand he'll be signing some executive orders today. What do we know about the content of those orders?
Yeah, so one of the orders is regarding homelessness. It is meant to make it easier for states and local jurisdictions, cities, to remove homeless people off their streets, put them in treatment centers. It specifically directs the Attorney General to, quote, reverse judicial precedents and end consent decrees. There's also language in here about how federal money, when it comes to combating homelessness, will be prioritized to certain cities who don't have illicit open-air drug use and other things that the White House has criticized in the past. Another notable executive order regarding college sports, and specifically the Name, Image, and Likeness program. The president signed an order that essentially will attempt to create national standards for this program prohibit, quote, third-party pay-for-play payments, trying to kind of tamp down the feeding frenzy that happens, especially for men's basketball, men's football, in terms of the transfer portal, and many athletes kind of getting bidded on to switch schools.
Aaron Navarro. Aaron, thank you.
And Trump's former defense attorney spent the day in a Florida prison talking to convicted Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. It's a pivot point in the Trump presidency. As Politico puts it today, the Epstein bombshell explodes, adding the crisis is here. Today, the number 2 at the DOJ, Todd Blanche, is meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell in a federal courthouse in Tallahassee, Florida. But the meeting may be planting the seeds for more backlash. Maxwell's attorney spoke to the press afterwards.
We had a very productive day today with the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. He took a full day and asked a lot of questions, and Ms. Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped, she never invoked a privilege, she never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability.
And Maxwell's own brother is now saying she's preparing new evidence. But Epstein victims warn Maxwell, a convicted perjurer as well as a child sex trafficker, can't be trusted. Amid the clamor for more transparency, newly surfaced deposition video from 2010 shows an attorney for an Epstein victim asking Epstein about Trump.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
What you saw there, it is all new context around the Wall Street Journal's bombshell reporting. That Attorney General Pam Bondi told Trump in May his name was in the Epstein files, among many others, which is prompting new questions about who knew what and when. Former federal prosecutor Ankush Kadori saying, quote, right now, everyone should be asking whether the highest levels of the federal government, including but not limited to the president, the vice president, the AG, the FBI director, and possibly even some Republican leaders in Congress, depending on what they knew and when, have been misleading the American public for weeks, if not months. Amid all this, GOP Speaker Mike Johnson today undermining Trump's claims that the Epstein uproar is all just some sort of hoax. Listen to Trump and then Johnson contradicting him.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
We want full transparency. We want everybody who was involved in any way with the Epstein evils, let's call it what it was, to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. And look, I think the president...
This is not a hoax, in other words.
Oh, it's not a hoax. Of course not.
Joyce, thank you for being here. I'll start with you. How strange is it for the number 2 at the DOJ to go to Florida and conduct an interview like this one?
I'm not sure strange even begins to capture this. It's completely unprecedented. You know, this is work for prosecutors who are handling cases. They know all of the evidence. They're capable of evaluating the witnesses, but oops, there's no way to have the lead prosecutor on this case conduct an interview because they've just fired Maureen Comey, the AUSA in the Southern District of New York who prosecuted this case. And beyond that, there is no case, Antonia. The Justice Department came out on July 6th with a statement saying there was no one left to be prosecuted. So there is a real question about what Todd Blanche is doing down in Florida. It doesn't look like the Justice Department's work. It looks like the president's work. And that casts a real political tinge over all of this.
Norm, do you see this as kind of ethically murky for a few reasons? I mean, as she just spelled out there, Todd Blanche having served in a personal capacity for the president. And then I was reminded today that Blanche actually at one point went on David Marcus, that's Maxwell's attorney's podcast. They know each other in a sort of social or at least casual way. So do you see something ethically murky here?
Blanche going to meet with Miss Maxwell today with her defense lawyer, Blanche being Donald Trump's defense lawyer, and then Maxwell, who has been convicted of these heinous crimes, and the same Department of Justice that Todd Blanche purports to represent,
right,
criticizing her as a liar. It looks like a cover-up of what Donald Trump may or may not have done. And when you put that together with the fact that Trump is in the Epstein files, they haven't produced that material, you have to wonder, can we rely upon whatever comes out of this unsavory meeting today? In prior administrations, for far less of a conflict, Antonia, they would bring in an independent counsel or a special counsel. So there's no whiff of this. But in those cases, you didn't have the president's former defense lawyer as the number 2 at the Department of Justice. So the whole thing reeks to high heaven. I think part of the reason that it is so gripping Washington, gripping the American people, Donald Trump's poll numbers are plummeting. Now 37% in the latest poll today is because it speaks to a larger sense of corruption. Donald Trump is in the White House making tens of millions of dollars for himself off of that office. Donald Trump is breaking the law. About 200 courts have said you're breaking the law in your official acts. He's targeting these innocent migrants. These are not criminals. These are honest working people who've come to our country to do jobs. So there's a larger sense of corruption. It's perfectly captured by Donald Trump here having buddied up with the rich and powerful who victimized Jeffrey Epstein, victimized the most vulnerable. That's a slogan for the Trump administration, benefiting the rich and powerful, Trump's cronies, victimizing the most vulnerable in our country. That's why it has such traction.
And that's why we're starting to see Democrats, too, seize on this and get a little bit more comfortable in this space, because they're starting, I've had conversations with them in recent days where they're starting to connect the Epstein case to the fighting oligarchy tour that we've seen Sanders and so many others join him on in recent days, because they're picking up on the fact that the American public seems to already have actually drawn all those connections. It might be D.C. that was last to see how this whole framework works.
Exactly. So all too often our political leaders follow the heart and mind of the public. Perhaps it should be the other way, but these declining poll numbers really indicate the American people are sick of the corruption. And the Epstein scandal is just the latest example of the corruption. We see the pictures. We see the video. Donald Trump is clearly close to this heinous individual. And then we know there's documents. Why not release the documents at the Democracy Defenders Fund, where I'm now the chair? We've filed FOIA requests, and we're prepared to litigate those FOIA requests. We're not going to rest until we get these Trump Epstein files.
Joyce, I want your take on what we would even get from Ghislaine Maxwell. Obviously, today, when her attorney spoke, they didn't give us much detail other than to say, you know, she answered every single question, that kind of thing. But as I laid out at the top of the show, she has a reputation. I mean, prosecutors laid it out as part of their story, their case against her, that she is a liar, a downplayer, a fabricator. So what are we to do with what we ultimately find out she has told Todd Blanche and the DOJ?
So it's important to think about the fact that this is Ghislaine Maxwell talking to the Justice Department. And the Justice Department's job is to prosecute cases. It's not to be some purveyor of truth to the American people. That's more in Congress's wheelhouse. So what we're asking here really is, what can this person as a witness contribute to a future prosecution? Now, look, we don't know why the government originally passed on signing her up as a witness, but I can make an educated guess, having spent 25 years at DOJ. She's a witness I would have liked to have had against Jeffrey Epstein, and I would have given her a deal, maybe not a great one, but some kind of a deal in exchange for that testimony, because the person you really want to prosecute is the person at the top, the most responsible person. So DOJ would have tried to sign her up, and they apparently concluded either that she didn't have valuable testimony, which seems extremely unlikely here, or that she was not a reliable witness, that she wouldn't tell the truth, that she failed to disclose all the crimes that she and others participated in. There was a reason here, even if we don't know it. So that casts a real question as to why they're talking to her. There is really no way to guarantee her truthfulness in this setting. And as Norm says, it has the appearance of people trying to get their story straight. It looks more like a joint defense agreement in the works than it looks like prosecutors trying to figure out what a witness has to say, because there's simply no case here to prosecute. It's so
the other
improper
thing, too, that I
it's
wonder,
very difficult to express it.
The other piece of this, and correct me, both of you, if I'm wrong here, is it feels like this is also moving very quickly. This is a very complicated case involving a vast network, a lot of money, heinous crimes. Have the victims been given enough time to be consulted as we see all of these steps? The subpoenas moving very quickly, Todd Blanche flying to Florida. Is the pace here at all a concern to you both?
Well, it is a concern to Judge Paul Engelmeyer here in the Southern District of New York, who has that grand jury subpoena matter. And in fact, he told DOJ, slow down. Have you considered the rights of the victims? And he set a schedule for briefing. You have to ask yourself, if they're willing to release the most sensitive material, and I learned a lot that I know about Rule 6E that governs grand jury material from my friend Joyce Vance. If they're willing to release the most sensitive material in government, grand jury material, what about the rest of the files? What about the Trump Epstein mentions? Why not put it all out there? You have to think, well, maybe there's something negative in there for Donald Trump, but we don't know, because they seem to be cherry picking with the Maxwell meeting with the grand jury materials.
A highly unorthodox meeting is set for round 2 in just a few hours. The Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Todd Blanche, is going to be meeting with Jeffrey Epstein's convicted former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, meeting again at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Tallahassee, Florida. That is where Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence for conspiring, as John just mentioned, with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse young girls. There are very big questions surrounding all of this, given the, one, obscurity of the meeting, and two, the lack of credibility that this woman has. What was asked of her? What information did Maxwell provide? What is being negotiated, and what is her motivation to speak at all? And can she be trusted to tell the truth? Todd Blanche has said that the Justice Department will be sharing any information that they learn, but, quote, at the appropriate time. And this all puts into focus, once again, how the White House is struggling, the president is struggling to turn the page on the issue over the Epstein files, as he has called it a hoax, but very clearly he can't shake it, and Congress does not share that viewpoint. Congress has made it clear they don't think it is a hoax. They want to see the files, and they aren't giving up. The Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, has already issued a subpoena to depose Maxwell. And he also says he's now moving quickly with issuing a subpoena to the Justice Department for all of those Epstein files. CNN's Kara Scannell tracking all of this for us this morning. What are you learning now, Kara?
Hey, good morning, Kate. Those are all great questions, and questions that we are trying to get the answers to. But as you said, this is the second meeting, the second day in a row, where Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell is convicted and serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking of minors. Prosecutors had proven at a 4-week trial that Maxwell had abused underage girls, recruited them and groomed them for Epstein to also sexually abused them. So the big questions here is, what are the terms of this meeting? What are the ground rules here? Is Maxwell being offered anything for her testimony? She is trying to appeal her conviction and also this 20-year sentence that she is only a few years into serving. So a lot of questions about what is left to talk about today. We did see yesterday that the lawyers met for the full day. They arrived at 9 a.m. They left at 4 p.m. David Oscar Marcus, Maxwell's attorney, told CNN afterwards, he said that Ghislaine honestly answered every question that Mr. Blanche asked, and she will continue to do so. We are grateful that the government is trying to uncover the truth. Now, what the content of these discussions are, the questions, the answers, Blanche had said that he wants to know if Maxwell knows of anyone that committed any crimes against minors, these victims of the case. Now, Maxwell has denied any wrongdoing. She was, in fact, charged by the Justice Department with perjury for what she said in a civil lawsuit when she denied any knowledge of Epstein's scheme to recruit underage girls and have them give him sexualized massages. She has always maintained her innocence. So it is unclear what the scope of this testimony is, why it requires 2 days, and what she is saying, though we did see the video of her returning to prison yesterday where she was carrying a box in her hands. It's unclear what is in that box. Could be items that she brought to the meeting, or maybe it's information they want her to review. But she will be back in this meeting today, and we'll look to see how soon it is afterwards that Todd Blanche might update the public on what transpired in this meeting, what the Justice Department learned. Is it going to be enough to kind of quell the growing storm around this, the storm that won't go away, and if Maxwell's attorney provides any update today? Kate?
Yeah. Kara Scannell, thank you so much. John.
All right, with us now, CNN political commentator Alyssa Farah-Griffin and CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Holding. And I have to say, Ellie, that Kara just raised, a number of really important points here as we head into this extraordinary day 2 of meetings between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. What are the terms? What are the ground rules? What's in the box that Maxwell is carrying? And how will we ever find out?
Okay, what is happening here resembles superficially the very ordinary cooperation process that I went through countless times as a prosecutor. You have a criminal defendant, that person's interested in cooperating, you spend days upon days with them, and you download everything they have. It looks like that's what's happening here, but let's be clear, it's not. This is not going to result in Ghislaine Maxwell becoming a full cooperating witness for the United States of America. This is not realistically, given her credibility problems, given her past, going to result in DOJ in signing her up as a cooperator, giving her a sentencing break, indicting new people based on her, calling her as a witness at trial. And so the question then becomes, and I think these are what Kara's questions go to, what is the end game? What are they trying to do? It looks to me like they're trying to check a box. They're trying to appease the critics, be able to say, look, we sat down with her, we got information, we dug in, we tried to find the truth, and hopefully that'll appease people. I don't know if it'll work, but I think that's the end game.
And how will we find, I think, look, we're going to hear only, I think, what Maxwell is telling Blanche via Blanche and maybe Maxwell's attorneys, and all of their interests may be aligned. I mean, how will we ever see real data on this?
Exactly. You would never have somebody audio recording this type of scenario or video recording this type of scenario. We don't know, but I would assume that holds true here. Ordinarily, and it seems like what's happening here is you will have a prosecutor, Todd Blanche in this case, very unusual, by the way, that it's the deputy AG, asking questions, and one or more FBI agents taking notes. They will then, the FBI agents will produce what's called a 302, which is a written summary. But you're right, who controls the questioning, and then who controls what we see of this? The answer is DOJ, Todd Blanche, and the FBI.
Alyssa, to quote the famous political film Mean Girls, the president keeps trying to make hoax happen when it comes to the Epstein case. He calls it a Democratic hoax and whatnot. But I want you to listen to House Speaker Mike Johnson, what he just said about all of this.
We want full transparency. We want everybody who is involved in any way with the Epstein evils, let's call it what it was, to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. We want the full weight of the law on their heads.
This is not a hoax, in other words.
Oh, it's not a hoax. Of course not.
Of course not. So what does that tell you about the messaging the president has been trying to deliver? As, again, we're standing by to see the president depart for Scotland, where I imagine Epstein may come up on his way out.
Yeah, the president can't make hoax or fetch happen at this point. But listen, Mike Johnson and Donald Trump are virtually always aligned. But in this moment, keep in mind, we're a year and 4 months out from the midterms. Mike Johnson's members are going home to their districts for this August recess. And many of them are going to hear from very angry constituents over the flip-flop and reversal on the Epstein files. Many voters turned out. One of the reasons they did is they wanted to get to the bottom of this. You know, Donald Trump doesn't really have to deal with this beyond just the continual drip of questions and getting grilled by reporters, but he's not standing for re-election again. And Mike Johnson's top job right now is keeping the House majority. So he is going to have to create some daylight with Trump. He also said something interesting when asked yesterday, I believe, where he kind of sowed some doubt that Ghislaine Maxwell could actually be a trustworthy person because this is a convicted sex trafficker. This is somebody who assisted a man with grooming and with bringing other women into this horrible circumstances. So he also seems to be maybe kind of pouring some cold water on the idea that she's going to help us get to the bottom of anything or that she herself should be trusted. It's the right move. It's the right move by Johnson. He's got to focus on protecting his members and cannot have them dragged down by the White House's mishandling of this.
It is interesting. You bring up Maxwell again. And you have to, I hope people do remember what some of the victims, Epstein's victims, have said. I mean, they have said that, and this was testimony in her trial, that she sexually abused them. She was convicted of conspiring to sexually abuse minors. And how much of a risk, Alyssa, is there that in these meetings where the Justice Department, you know, seems to be praising the idea of the meetings, Maxwell's lawyers are praising the Justice Department, how much political risk is there of trying to seem too cozy?
I honestly think it's a complete misreading of the room. If you want justice for Jeffrey Epstein, if you are outraged over the behavior he engaged in, you should be equally outraged over Ghislaine Maxwell's behavior. I mean, there's a special place in hell for women who would help men abuse younger women. That's just, I think that's a universal take of people who want to get to the bottom of this Epstein saga. So there, I think, is a real fear. Is she going to get some kind of a deal? Is she incentivized that she should cooperate with what the Justice Department or the White House wants to hear her say because she might get a more lenient sentence or ultimately a pardon at the end of Trump's term? Those are things that his base does not want. They see her as big of a monster as Jeffrey Epstein. So I think they have to navigate this really carefully. I think the first thought is, okay, we might get some answers from her, but we're skeptical because she's untrustworthy. If she helps us nail some people who are involved in this, fine. But if it seems like this is actually kind of to whitewash her own wrongdoing and criminality, I think that that's going to really backfire on the White House.
Ellie, a whole bunch of reporting on the so-called birthday book. The Wall Street Journal is the one who originally reported that Donald Trump had written this note in the book and then signed his name and done a doodle. He denied that, suing the Wall Street Journal. The New York Times says his name is on a list of contributors to the book. Again, having your name in the book or even in the Jeffrey Epstein files doesn't indicate wrongdoing. However, the presence of a book, if there is in fact this birthday book and it's subpoenaed by Congress. Ro Khanna says he wants to see it right now. How does the presence of a book, if it's proven, affect Donald Trump's lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal?
Well, the existence of that book would kill Donald Trump's lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. What he has to show in order to prove they defamed him is that A, their reporting is false, and B, that they knew it was false. So if it exists, it's sounding more and more like it does. That's going to really undermine, probably end his defamation case. If I can real quick, Alyssa and Speaker Johnson both made very good points. The reasons Ghislaine Maxwell is not going to solve anything for anyone. One, she has no credibility. Remember who she is. People are treating her now like she's a savior. She's a convicted sex trafficker who has done nothing but refused to talk, and when she has talked, lied. And anyone who's holding out hope that she's going to come in and bring justice for these victims, think again.
It's good psychologically. It makes you feel good. But with that being said, I love strong dollars, but you make your money with a currency. And I had so many different fights with President Xi, between Japan and China. All they want to do is have a weak currency. They're always fighting for a weak currency. And that's how they really dominated over the years. So when I see it down there, I don't lose sleep over it, let's put it that way. In fact, sometimes I go to sleep very happy. You understand? Do you agree with me?
I agree with a lot of what you said, Mr. President. Do you think it makes it easier to impose your tariffs with that lower dollar? Because
I think it makes it easier even for tariffs, yeah. And it makes the tariffs worth.
A fired federal prosecutor is now suing the Trump administration for wrongful termination. Michael Gordon says his dismissal last month was unjust.